to order the Tuesday, September 2nd meeting of the Monmouth City Council and ask Phyllis for a roll call.
Councilor Carey.
Here.
Councilor Guthrie.
Here.
Councilor Coons. Here. Councilor Milligan.
Here.
Councilor Schaefer.
Here.
Councilor Silbernagle.
Here.
Mayor Oberst.
Yes. All rise for the flag salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all, and with that I'll turn to the consent calendar, which consists tonight of the minutes from the council meeting of August 19th and the minutes from the work session of the same evening. I could have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, short mayor's report tonight. The first item is, I guess it really fits under council reps, the boards and commissions, but I'll go ahead and jump the gun a little bit. WMPEG. We have been working with Western Oregon University and Lane, in his usual efficient fashion, took about 15 minutes, I think, to do this, drafted a little memorandum of understanding between the university and WMPEG for the university to contribute towards the purchase of the new server. And we went back and forth a little bit on it, and I'm waiting for a final couple of folks on the WMPEG board to say looks good, and then we'll have a special meeting to approve me signing that. And that will be the next step along the way to actually having a lease agreement delivered to us for the new server. And I made it very clear to the WMPEG board that I fully plan to take advantage of my professionals and turn that over to Scott and Lane, and also to David Klein and whoever at Independence he'd like to see that, and to Darren to forward around the university to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that lease agreement before it's signed. But we're moving, steadily towards having a new server in place. When we do, we will move the SD from the standard definition to the high definition tier of channels at MyNet. And we may try to hold on to one standard definition channel. I was concerned that folks who don't have that HD tier might miss these wonderful council meetings. And so if we can hang on to one SD channel dedicated to public meeting type stuff, that might be a nice step. Talking with MyNet, they indicated that SD channels are the burial is on the horizon for SD, basically, and we'll have nothing but HD in the long run. So I don't know what the time frame is on that. I had a ODOT Transportation Options Advisory Committee. Again, this is a new topic in the Oregon Transportation Plan to talk about how to get around the state using all kinds of modes of transportation, from your feet to your car to transit and train, and trying to put together a document that supports that. And part of this step was to talk about the business case for transportation options. And it's really quite amazing to see what ODOT has come up with in terms of the value that transportation options adds to a community for employment and quality of life and so on. So when that is all done, I'll share a little bit more. Finally, the mayor's breakfast on Friday, last Friday, the Polk County Commissioners had asked a consultant from Portland State to speak to all the mayors and city managers about the relations between the county and the cities, and that report had been delivered, and we kind of debriefed that a little bit and talked about how to improve relationships between the county and the cities. It was an interesting breakfast. And then finally, I had Phyllis send out to you Dan Clark at the university. Rod Killen and I met with him about some WMPEG issues, and I just happened to say to him, so if you want to get involved in the community, you got to fill out one of those forms. And next thing I know, I get an email from him saying, where do you need me? So I told him our biggest need was planning, and he has a background in planning, and with that I would like to appoint Dan Clark to the Planning Commission with council's approval.
Move approval. Dan Clark. Second.
Moved and seconded. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then one other piece of business to clean up with Councilor Meyer stepping down and Councilor Guthrie stepping in, as Ben was the council liaison to traffic safety. And there's going to be at least one more meeting before the end of the year, and I asked Marshall if he'd step into that slot as well. So Marshall will fill that. They've got a meeting next week, and there won't be another one before the end of the year, will there? That's the
December.
I think it's
Okay.
December.
Right.
So, there we go. That's all I have. Reports from council reps to boards and commissions. Councilor Silbernagel.
Senior Advisory Board did not meet in August. We're scheduled to meet September 23rd at 1 p.m. But this Saturday, I might announce that community breakfast this Saturday at 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So come, folks, and take advantage of that while it's going on this Saturday. That concludes my report.
Councilor Carey.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the MyNet board met on August 28th and actually quite a productive meeting. I'm decoding they talk in tongues, those people. And so I'm learning about the industry overall, and the article that you provided me was quite interesting and actually encouraging relative to MyNet. And learning about the operation of MyNet. I've had a tour of the building down there, and then learning about the operation of the board. And there's a learning curve there, but it's manageable. The one bit of, two bits of information that I think were significant and good was that there was a pretty significant increase in our customer base year over year. Through the summer, sort of made it through the summer better than we have. And then there's gearing up for the students arriving on campus and the anticipation of, more services, more signups, more hookups, all of that sort of thing. So it very, very interesting, very enlightening, and I'm looking forward to continuing with that. That concludes it.
Thank you. Anybody else with boards and commissions? I've only got two here, and just want to make sure we're not missing one. Okay, any community announcements?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to congratulate you on the sort of acknowledgement that you had in the local newspaper regarding the Highway 51 upgrade.
Thanks.
It was a very nice, positive article, and as I reflected back on that, I recall you as being the prime mover on getting that off our table and moving forward. And so when that's completed, it'll be really a nice kudo for you. So just on the record and publicly, well done.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
I've got an announcement. The General House,
Uh-huh.
Museum, and meeting facility, I think that's what they're calling themselves now, is the Wine and Music this coming Sunday. No, not this Sunday, but September 14th. And I don't know what time they're doing that. From 1 to, I can't remember.
It's afternoon.
I know it's an afternoon function, but
It's got internet access.
No, they,
but anyway, so that's coming up. So look in the paper, look around the town for community announcements.
mayor's notes, or the community notes in that.
Is it this time around?
Yep.
And this is a fundraiser for?
I'm sorry, it's, yeah. Aaron asked me to say this, and I have the piece, and
It's a fundraiser for General House. Very good.
I
Okay.
think one of the things they're trying to do on that is capture the old salmon bake sort of time slot that was sort of reserved at the Jensen Museum when that was here. And clearly the General House is a worthy cause and needs support as well.
I know that also the day before, on the 13th, they've got a work session, or work day there at General House. I know it was like 9 to noon, and then I think there was some in the afternoon as well, and they included lunch. So if folks want to volunteer for that, they would be happy to have people spruce up the place, basically.
Okay. What were the hours on that again?
9 to noon was the first session, and then I believe there was a little bit in the afternoon as well. And then they were going to have lunch in the middle.
And I'll
So if I
tell
show up at noon. Kidding.
I believe on the 13th also, Mark, is the tree planting at the dog park. They're planting over 40 trees, I believe.
Part of the National Day of Service, 9
Right.
o'clock on Saturday, the 13th. I think it's maybe our biggest volunteer tree planting project. I think we're gonna put 48 trees in the ground that day.
And I think I did read that the shovels and volunteers are needed, so if anybody wants to come out and check out the dog park, it's really gonna really change the landscape there and make it.
So are we digging these the old-fashioned way, or are we counting on Brian again? Good.
We wouldn't be planting 48 trees.
I was still amazed this last time around on tree planting over in the Jackson Craven area. Things started at 9 o'clock. I figured I'd stroll up there around 10, and every tree was in the ground. 52, I think it was, trees in the ground in under an hour. And it was in part because Brian Sparks came around and drilled holes for the trees, and it was in part because a large group of very athletic young women from the university volleyball team showed up, and they had no problem picking those trees up and dropping them in the holes, and it was done. Just amazing. Are you getting any athletes this time around?
Yeah, oh yeah, we always send something, an announcement over that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And why were you showing up an hour late?
I just figured I'd show up and.
A lot of people started at 9 on that. you know.
Right. I did have some family stuff that morning. Got there as quick as I could. And with that, anything else? Any other community announcements? Okay. And to the city manager's report.
Yep, a few items. One note is we actually now have a video arraignment system hooked up, and so we can now actually take care of prisoners, put them on the TV here, patches them over to the TV at the center, so then the person can actually show up there, meet in front of the judge, all sorts of rules that go attached to this. And the key thing is that primarily Mark Dunbar just figured this out on his own. I mean, you're talking to somebody that figured it out. This is something that the police department's been on for about 13 years. Cities our size do not have this type of system, basically because they cost $40,000 up to get CAN systems, and he worked through rules, procedures, the parameters, and he's got a techie side to him, and he just kept working until he figured it out. So we are fully operational with the system, like I said, cities our size do not have. And it's just because as a side hobby, he just likes stuff.
He does like to do that.
So we added video arraignment guru to his job title now?
Yeah, it'll probably be good.
Okay.
Tech services in a lot of ways, so. Then a couple other ones, Talent Road is open and was open before school starts. Yep.
Nice
They
to
got
see
that
that
in
in
there,
Polk
so.
County.
Yep, so just a little bit of cleanup work out there, and they'll be in pretty good shape, so that was really nice of the lead on that. And then I've been working on, at the League of Oregon Cities, there's gonna be a session on general obligation bonds, and I'm one of the speakers for that, so we've been pulling all the team together for who's gonna do what, and ours focuses on the police station project.
Very good. No, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Citizen comment time. Anybody have anything? No? Okay. With that, we'll turn to the business agenda, which is short tonight. And the first item is a public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Project closing. What a mouthful that title is. And if you could give us your name and city for the record.
My name is Diana Satanovich, and I'm here on behalf of Polk Community Development Corporation with an office in Dallas, Oregon. So the Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Program requires 2 public hearings, one at the beginning prior to activity and construction start, and one at the end when the funds are obligated. We still have some construction underway, but I'm here, and I think the most efficient way to do this is for me to simply read this into the audio record, and you all have a copy of it, and that way, when we present the minutes, approved minutes from the next meeting, this exact report will be available to IFA for them to not complain about.
Hearing open.
Okay, so you have opened the meeting?
I have opened the hearing.
Okay, so this is the second public hearing for the City of Monmouth CDBG Housing Rehab Project, H1109. The City of Monmouth is completing a housing rehabilitation project funded with Community Development Block Grant funds from the Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority. The location of the project is multiple addresses within the cities of Monmouth, Dallas, Independence, Falls City, and all of Polk County outside of West Salem. It is estimated that the project has benefited at least 35 persons, of whom 100% are low or moderate income. This second public hearing held by the Monmouth City Council today is for the council to obtain citizens' views about the project and to take comments about the local government's performance. Written comments are welcome and must have been received by 5 p.m. Monday, September 1st at City Hall. Both oral and written comments may be received by the City Council. No written comments have been received. Is this correct? I confirm this with Phyllis. Okay, as I said, my name is Diana Satanovich. I am representing the sub-recipient, Polk Community Development Corporation, on the activity of the grant. The City of Monmouth received a $400,000 CDBG award in order to provide housing rehabilitation loans to owner-occupied, low to moderate income homeowners in Monmouth and other jurisdictions within the Polk Regional Collaborative. The income limit for program participation is 80% of area median income or less. A contract between the City of Monmouth and the Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority was executed on April 25th, 2012. The award was made for a 2-year program. Response to the CDBG HR program was very slow due mainly to the downturn in the economy over the past 5 years. The Polk County Tax Assessor states that from 2007 to 2012, the average home sales price in the Polk Regional Collaborative Service Area fell by 22%, or $60,000. Many homeowners were unable to secure financing even within the non-traditional housing rehab loan program. With the devaluation of real estate, the loss in home equity, often combined with job loss, reduced the debt coverage ability of many homeowners who would have been eligible for the program a few years ago. Approximately 75% of applicants were unable to participate in the program, although otherwise eligible. In addition to this, the area median income fell so that seniors with incomes at 80% only 2 years ago fell above the 80% limit and were no longer eligible for the program. With prolonged financial uncertainty, many eligible homeowners on the waiting list became resistant to borrowing at any level. The inability to lend the HR funds led to the return of 13% of the funds, or $51,700, and a request for a 6-month extension in order to complete the project. To date, all housing rehabilitation funds are obligated and final rehabilitation activity is underway. The $400,000 award was reduced to $348,300 with $270,000 obligated for housing rehabilitation activity. More information about the Oregon Community Development Block Grant Program and the project is available for public review at City Hall during regular office hours. Advance notice is requested. Mark Dunmeyer keeps the record and file on this, and the Community Development Director keeps the environmental review record for anyone to see. On the other side, I have kind of a graphic about the use of the funds. So 16 loans were made in total, and 5 of them went to Monmouth, 9 to Dallas, 1 to Independence, and 1 to Falls City, and none to the county. And then the amounts are shown on the right column, and then the pie charts will show you the breakout of the number of loans and the number and the amount of fundings expended in each of the jurisdictions. So that's as much as I have to say at this point, but I am very open to questions if you have any.
Anybody have any questions on this?
Okay.
Right.
And I really want to say thank you to the council and to city staff for being so easy to work with. And on behalf of all these people that got this benefit, I think they would like to say thank you too.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Any public comment on what was just presented? And hearing none, I'll close the hearing. And that's done, right? Very good. Okay. And the only other item tonight is adoption of Vacation 1401. This was the second reading of this ordinance. And this is going to be ordinance 1347. Mark, would you like to present on this?
Sure, this would be the final reading for adoption of this ordinance. This vacates a portion of the Jackson Street West right-of-way that's approximately 17 feet by 254 feet, and it's adjacent to the property identified as Assessor Map 8525 AC, Tax Lot 1303. The area proposed for vacation is undeveloped and does not include any public utilities. The area proposed for vacation is not necessary for future infrastructure development or for transportation purposes. So staff's recommendation is to conduct the second reading of the ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
So I had a question, because I understand we've gotten some information that, you know, there's vacating this property. We can't, there's no way to sell it, doesn't belong to the city, so we can't require payment for it. It belongs to the general public, but it's not needed for any of the purposes that you mentioned. And I was curious, for example, could we have put parking there? Could we have made parking spaces there because it was public right away? Would that have been a use that we could have done for it?
Well, I mean, there's parking currently there along the curb. So, I mean, you could angle parking spaces. It's not quite the depth you want to see on a parking space, a little bit short. I mean, you could see developed angled parking there. I'm not sure
Also,
what
I
you
was thinking
gain.
of that because I knew there was parking, regular parking along the curb, and so, but with that much more depth, I wondered if you added that to the parking that was there, if we could have created.
I think it creates more problems. If you look at the map that's Exhibit B, if you were building a sidewalk to connect tax lot 6,000 to where it says the word drive, you would have to bring that sidewalk along the south side of tax lot 600 and then jog it north 17 feet and then bring it over 254 feet and jog it back. So you might pick up a parking space, but you create kind of a pedestrian inconvenience. And so.
Well,
I don't know.
pedestrians are dodging cars so much in that area. I don't know if that's a common one.
But if they're walking a straight sidewalk, they're not.
Yeah.
Other downside of that potentially is just the nature of diagonal parking. If you're talking that we've got a lot of flow in there and everything, now you're
Right.
talking people backing in, they have to back out, go up,
Sure.
U-turn, come back out the other side, so.
Right. And Jackson Street is a collector street that, you know, there's going to be more development west of that someday, and you would not want cars having to back out into parking, or back out into traffic, I'm sorry.
Anything else?
This one really troubles me on a number of levels. I mean, I don't think we're left with any other choices in terms of what we can do, but it's just kind of confusing to me. We don't own the land, so therefore we can't receive anything from it. And then the reason that we're acting on this is because it has to do with right away.
Right away. We're it's our charge to manage the
adjudicators
right
of
away.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, one of the things that is a little troublesome, it's a large piece of property, and it will trigger, you know, it will take that up to a half an acre, and that will allow for two or more additional house, or one or more additional units. Should the, and I know there's not a plan, but I think that's on the record from before. At no cost to the owner. Now, there will be tax increment on that, so we do get some.
Right.
And it's, I have no way of knowing how we might quantify that amount, nor am I interested in anybody else, but there will be a slight amount of increment that would come over time
Right.
as a result of that expanded lot size.
Right.
And I understand that all reports have it that Jackson Street is adequate width and all of that. And I do recognize that while at the present time, the primary concern and the most likely problem is going to be in the northeast section of that intersection right there, where people tend to cut that corner. Having done it myself over the years, I recognize the problem. It would just be nice to be able to utilize that to soften that corner somewhat there, but again, I don't have a solution for it, so I'm not gonna gripe anymore about it.
If I could offer you one perspective on that, I mean, this is the property that this right-of-way came from. It isn't like we're selling a development parcel somewhere that we bought and owned for some time. The reason there's too much right-of-way is because it came off of the adjacent property, and we're giving it back to that property. It's another way to look at it. This isn't like the fire hall property. We bought something and we want to return, we want to see a development. I mean, this is, you're just restoring something back to the people, somebody who owned it before.
Well, the person that sort of deeded that is long since gone, right, from the ownership of that, isn't it?
Right.
So
Right.
that's sort of moved.
And is it gonna make an extra $1,600 a month off apartment rent that they're gonna earn because they got the extra property and built more units, so it's not quite.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I just want to make sure that Councilor Carey is clear on this. I thought I heard you say that you don't have much choice. I mean, you do have a choice. I mean, you can say, no, you're not under an obligation. Okay.
No, I know.
All right, yeah, nobody has a right to this vacation. It's yours to grant or deny. So there is a choice.
I mean, there's my inclination, and it would be to vote no, but to vote no would be just sort of.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you.
Because I understand completely the idea, but and frankly, I'm excited to see that corner, those two lots develop. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's wonderful. It's long overdue. It'll be way better than what is there currently. So I'm excited about that. It's just a little bit, and again, we're in a bit of a box. I'm not gonna vote no,
Yeah.
Lane, but.
Yeah, okay, just I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that we were clear on that, okay.
Thank you.
I don't know that I have. I mean, the thing is, since I'm second in line and it looks like the only one so far who might vote no is John, I would just say that the question about future use on that property is actually not germane to the question on the table, as far as I know, because there's currently no plan, there's nothing before the planning commission. Who knows if the ownership of the property could change between now and when somebody does something. So for us to try and say this is gonna add so much value to the current property owner in rental receipts is not really, I don't think is germane to this question. And the other is, if we retained it, we can't do much with it. It's not a big enough usable piece. The other is, and I'm only gonna speculate back, is that probably the person who sold it, with that piece being vacated, didn't reduce the price, losing the vacated land. So the property owner probably bought the piece anyway at the price they paid for what they have, with the vacated piece out of it. That's only speculation, but other people are speculating, so why not?
Very good, Steve.
So, I don't know, I don't see a problem with vacating this property myself.
Marshall?
I think we need to be consistent in how we approach these decisions, and regardless of what's gonna go on, it doesn't matter whether it's an apartment house or a park, unless we have a use for it, unless it makes sense for the city to keep it, we gotta let it go.
Justin, you have anything? Darren?
I'm good with this one.
Okay. And I just want to, I'm not wild about the prospect of multifamily on this corner. However, it has been zoned multifamily for years and years. And I'm not convinced that once you put multifamily on this corner, that 2 additional units is going to be any different in the long run than, 2 fewer, 1 or 2 fewer. So You know, that one of the things that I guess I've learned over the years is if you want to control what happens in that property over there, you better own it, because that's the only way to know for sure. So, with that, I will read this ordinance by title, if I can find it, there it is. And the title is an ordinance vacating a certain portion of the public right-of-way within the Jackson Street West right-of-way. And this would be ordinance number 1347. If I could have a motion on this.
I move adoption of ordinance 1347 enacting vacation 14-01.
Second?
Moved and seconded, and Phyllis?
Counselor Guthrie.
Aye.
Counselor Silvernagle.
Aye.
Counselor Schaefer.
Aye.
Counselor Milligan.
Aye.
Counselor Carey.
Aye.
Counselor Coons.
Aye.
And with that, we will vacate that right away. Thank you. Now, can I find my agenda again? There it is. What we have left tonight is an executive session. I will ask if there are any council comments, and then I'll read the script on the executive session, and we'll take a brief break before we start into that. So are there any council comments tonight?
I just wanted to say thank you to the Monmouth Business Association and Mark for the music in the park this summer. It was, once again, wonderful for the wife and my daughter to attend. It was only 16 months, and man, was there a lot of kids there. Kept us quite busy, but the attendance in adults and kids was outstanding. The music was great. It was just a fun time on Wednesday nights. We always had something to do, so thank you for that, and thank you for the Monmouth Business Association as well.
Anyone else?
I've got one, I got two actually. First one's real quick, when you do the work with ODOT on the non-car transportation, the benefits thereof, I would also look, I know that this data exists for bicycles, especially the amount of economic exchange that exists with people commuting by a bicycle as opposed to cars. It's amazing when you don't have to find a parking spot and lots of car and all that, how much more likely it is you're gonna hop up and do some business. So I would definitely check that out. The second one I'd like for the council to consider in the future, and I understand that maybe there's been some past conversation as well, but I'd like to see an opportunity for council members to receive their council packets via electronic means. Email would be fantastic. It's not that I don't mind walking across the street, but I know that for me, shuffling paper gets confusing after a while. It goes into a different order every single time I put it back in the file. I'm used to working off a searchable document. I type in City Hall and everything germane to City Hall pops up. So I'd like for us to discuss that, and then the use of electronic devices during council meetings and work sessions as a component of that as well.
We've actually talked about that a little bit, but haven't come to any conclusions.
Okay, I'd like to revisit that.
School districts checking out Chromebooks to get to our to our school board members most likely, and starting to provide all their stuff electronically on those.
Anybody else? And with that, I will read the script. And this is the script announcing the start of an executive session. The city council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing real property transactions. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660(2)E, real property transactions, which allows the council to meet in executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff or other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. It's not anticipated that action will be taken this evening after returning from executive session. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the regular meeting to executive session.
So moved.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's.